Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is 1 p.m. here in Crystal Lake, Illinois. That means it's time for another live stream. Today is Thursday, October 13th, 2022. And because it's Thursday, it's happy hour. We made it to the end of the week. It's a short week because we had Monday off, or at least a lot of us here did in the United States. But still a long week. And for me, like today is finally like the day that like Chicago Marathon kind of ends because like I did a wrap-up video today. I did a wrap-up video yesterday. That was the runner's weekend, but I also did one other kind of wrap-up interview, a quick weekend recap over on Relay too. So like that went out today. And so I'm like, whew, now I can finally take a break. But no rest for the weary. Is that the phrase? Because today I already had my first workout in my very short build for the New York Marathon. So I am already exhausted, and I definitely got a recovery beverage here today for happy hour. Today I'm drinking, this is something that I've had before, Scratch, the hydration fruit punch. I think it's one of their better flavors. They have an orange flavor, which I also like. This one has 380 milligrams of salt and 20 grams of carbs. I also had a bottle of this during the run too, but I feel like I need a lot of sugars right now. Feeling a little bit low energy, so that's what I'm going for my recovery drink for today. For those of you guys listening on the audio only on the podcast, hopefully you got some really good either gels or some drink in the bottle for your run today. And everyone watching this on YouTube later, hopefully you had a really nice relaxing day, and maybe you got something a little bit more interesting than a recovery beverage for your after dinner nightcap. All right, let's see who we got here. Sean Devlin's in the chat. He said, hey, everyone, with a wave. He's got yoga with Adrienne this morning, followed by the start of carb loading. Oh, boy. 500 grams of carbs is more work than I thought. 500 grams of carbs over how much time? That's not one day, is it? That seems like a lot. How much is like 100? It seems like a doable carb loading, but maybe this is between now and your race. I don't know. I need more details on that. Elijah says, hi, Co-Fam. Hope everyone is okay. Best recap video. Thanks so much. I had a lot of fun getting that recap video together. I had a really busy, really full, really fun Chicago Marathon weekend. And like, this was certainly busier than last year, but like last year was like this too. I did multiple interviews, like in the weekend of the race. I interviewed Dr. Josh, I interviewed Emily Heller. So like, you know, it's just hard to run well when you've got this much going on. And so like, you know, it's kind of like my mindset always going in, because I don't want to miss anyone who's here because people come from all over. So yeah, it was a very full weekend. I was glad I was able to share some of that with you guys. Mark says, yo, what's going on? Fall is officially in the air in Minnesota, high in the 40s and 50s as far as I can see. Great running weather. That's what it was like for me out there today, Mark. But for us, the highs are going to be a little bit higher than that. So like, I think it was like 40 degrees for my run today. I ran in long sleeve and some thin gloves, but also half tights. So that for me is like perfect running weather. Absolutely loving it out there. It was a little bit windier than I would have liked though. That's the only downside of this time of year. It does get windy, but it's going to be good running weather for you in Minnesota for at least a little while. All right. Midlife Runner says, Coach, I'm taking 2 weeks off after Chicago. A not running streak feels 53 times harder than keeping a running streak. Maybe that means I'm officially a runner now. What's your longest not running streak? Well, you know, you're certainly already a runner. Just feeling antsy about getting back to it doesn't mean you're now a runner. You've always been. But for me, I think two things. First, I'll answer your question. My longest not running streak, I think maybe like since like 2016, when my running buddy got me back into running again. Which you guys know about if you watched the video. I think it may be like 3 or 4 days, maybe 4 days. That might be it. That would have been when my knee was bothering me, like during the pandemic. Because other than that, like even after a marathon, I do like to keep moving. So I know everyone talks about like taking breaks, and you know I've been reading the Jack Daniels running formula like book a lot lately, just revisiting it. And he's like, you know, you need to take a day off for every like 1,000 or 4,000 meters raced or something like that. And I'm just like, yeah, I think it's like a day off per 4,000 meters race. And I'm like, okay, so 42 kilometers, 4,000. You know, I'm trying to figure out how many days I'm supposed to take off. But I'm like, I don't know. I think that like just complete rest is not good for my mental health either. So like, just a shuffle or maybe even a brisk walk. That's kind of like how I like to get back into it relatively soon, just because I enjoy being outside. So, a break period is good for sure, especially if you went after it real hard for Chicago. And I know a lot of people did and had some great results. But, if it's driving you crazy, then, get back out there. Just do a little shuffle. So that'll be all right. All right. Looks like we got Martha in here today. Good to see you. And Sean Marshall is here, says, hello, friends in foam. Awesome. I love that. Cool. Very cool. Let's scroll up here a little bit. Eric's got the day off in the morning. Day off for me this morning. First in a bit to get some walking in and make sure I'm not overdoing it. Did a cemetery walking assignment with my students. So all good. Cheers all. There you go. That's nice. Just like, was that like subject matter related, or was just like, hey guys, it's spooky season. We're gonna go for a walk in the cemetery. I think it'd be great. Eric, I don't remember what you teach, but I think it'd be great if you taught math and you're like, guys, spooky season, we're gonna walk through the cemetery. Man. I see Go Bear says, yo, what's going on? It's 9 p.m. here in Kampala, Uganda. Hope you're all well. Co, have you ever run a marathon in Europe? Would love to see you in a Cape Town marathon. Yeah, if I run, like Cape Town, when you're talking South Africa, then you're definitely thinking Comrades, which is not a marathon, even though they call it marathon. But I've not run a marathon in Europe. I've run races in Europe. I had my European debut in Malaga, Spain earlier this year for the Meta Time Trials, the mass participation 5K. And I'm trying to think, that was my only race in Europe. I'm really hoping that I can get into London next year. Although, like, if I get into London next year, I might have to bump Boston because it's like, well, I'm going to Tokyo. I'm not going to delay, the most rarest of the opportunities you don't like pass up. And then if I could get into London, I know it's a quick turnaround. It might even be like subsequent weekends or something like that. But like, then I would do that. And then maybe next year I just go watch Boston, So like, I gotta figure out Europe. I'd love to run the Paris Marathon. Hopefully I'll be there for the Olympics to watch the marathon. So yeah, I would love to. Also like the Valencia Marathon, so fast. It'd be fun to try and do that one. So there's so many great races that I'd love to go see and do. But like at the same time, I'm like, I'm getting tired. There's a lot of running. Maybe there's more marathons that I can go watch. I'll do the shakeout events, I'm much maybe I'd be happier chasing athletes around the course than I would be necessarily trying to chase fast time myself. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting old. Kurt Owens, what's going on, Kurt? Hopefully the feet are doing well. He says, I love the recap videos when it's a race I was at. There's so many memories rekindled seeing the things that you film along the way. Awesome, man. I love making those videos. They don't do as well, like viewer wise. And I was telling that to my wife yesterday. We're cleaning up after dinner and I'm like, yeah, they just don't do it as well. And she's like, really? I'm like, it's not really what people go to YouTube for. It's not really even what people go to TV for anymore. Think about like, there's people that have much more like production and budget and planning and stuff like that than I do. And like shows don't last like a season, but I don't know. I guess like the budget is lower so it can continue to operate, but, on YouTube, but I have fun making it. And I also feel like, if it's not the most popular thing that I do, that's totally cool. But if like the people that are like the core audience of the channel, as long as they're getting it, then I feel like it's worth continuing to do, so I'm glad that you guys are enjoying it. All right. I saw something about Featherston down here. Let me see here. All right. Sean says, Featherston nutrition calls for 2.5 to 3 days prior, depending on body weight. So I'm doing 500 grams a day. That's like 10 bagels a day, man. That, Sean, I feel like we're about the same size. Like, I don't know. But Featherston's not wrong. She just ran a 250 in Chicago, by the way. after spending like doing like panels at the expo and like public speaking. So like, just talking about like how hard it is to like work an event and then run it well. She ran it well. I think that's a PR for her. I think her PR was, she was shooting for a 252. I was talking to Lindsay Hine. Lindsay Hine was on moderated a panel that Featherston was on. And then she said that Megan was going for 252. I didn't get to actually say hi to Megan. I did wave at her like from the crowd and distract her. I got some photos for her, but yeah. So Lindsay Hine was saying that Megan was going for a 252, ended with a 250, and looked like she was just smiling and having fun the entire time. So she did a great job. All right, let me scroll down and catch up with you guys in the chat. I'm going to try to do a better job of that, keeping up with you guys in terms of what you guys are talking about. So if I skip something that you guys really like, if you guys have a question, make sure you might have to put it in a couple times, but I will try to keep up with whatever is like the current conversation is. So I'm not behind you guys. And let me tell you, I mean, it's like marathon training season when you get the 2 beverages every time you sit down. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm like recovery drink and coffee. Yeah. Martha says, yes, Featherston nailed Chicago. So she's a good ad for her own business. Yeah, I mean, she spends a lot of time on the bike. So I think, I don't know if she does doubles that way, like she doubles on the bike, but I do think that I might start trying to do that. I think I'm going to get a bike trainer just because I feel like bicycling, even out here where it's mostly on a path, there still are some road intersections. I just feel like it's very disruptive. But I'd love to be able to just hop on a bike for like 30 minutes if I get a bike trainer. So I don't know if that Zwift thing is out yet. Because I'd like to get that one. Or what? I know Garmin bought like Tax or something. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys have, if you guys like it, or if I should just keep waiting for that Zwift one. Frank says, for 500 grams of carbs a day, eat 240 pixie sticks. Wow. That's a lot of pixie sticks. Moonwalker says, hey, Kofuzi, what did you think of the tweaks they made to this year's Chicago course, especially the 23-24 mile mark where you loop back around to see the people behind you in the opposite direction? Dude, I hated that part. That part really stunk. I did not realize that was going to happen. Because when we turned over, I was like, dude, we turned over too early. Usually we turn further back down. And I didn't look at the map that closely. Because they said that there was only very minor tweaks. And I noticed that there was a tweak when you come back down around mile 13. So you're running down Wacker and not Franklin. I was like, oh, that's it? Okay, fine. But this is more than a minor tweak, I think. Because you don't go nearly as close to Comiskey or whatever they call it, where the White Sox play. And so that's usually a spot where Lululemon tends to be. And so those guys had to move. And I did see them later on. But I was like, there's this one part, it's this very sad like strip mall that's underneath the highway that usually has like a giant aid station there. And that's like a very memorable part of the race for me. I've struggled there many times, but I guess moving it's okay because that part of the course tends to get really hot. So because it was a cold year, I don't think I noticed the difference very much. But I think on a hot year, it'll be really good to have that move because when you cut back over earlier, you're getting into more like tree line street. So that was nice. But I got to tell you, it's extremely demoralizing when you're still running away from the finish line and you're seeing people coming back, right? And so like we hadn't even crossed the 23-mile marker yet. So we were on mile 22 and change when I saw the 24-mile marker coming the other way. And so you're going down and you're like, wait, we got like another half mile. How much more we got to go to get to the 23? And then we got to come back and hit 24. That's a lot of running. And so I just don't like that. I wish if they had just moved, just don't put a 24-mile marker sign or make it hard to see from the other way. That's what I would do to change that because it's just very demoralizing. Same thing happens in LA, but LA, it happens at mile like 18 or something like that, where you see the finish, but you got to keep going. And you know that every step you take, you've got to do it again on the way back. And so that's just, for me, mentally, it's just, mentally, I'm not very strong anyway. So any little thing to like push me over the edge, that'll do it. So, that really stunk. Ugh. Yeah, I didn't like it at all. My buddy and I, we complained about it for a long time on the course. New Betra series says, I did my first marathon on Sunday. Can I get a late cowbell? Of course you can. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. There we go. Good job, New Betra. And doing a 25K trail race on 10/22. That's coming right up. What kind of training should I do to balance recovery and maintenance in the 2-week window? Well, hopefully, what I would say is, unless you took your first marathon really easy and you had just a very simple time out there, I would say you're probably not going for like a very fast time on the 22nd. So I'd say you just want to be in a position where you're not hurting, right? And just feel good. And I want you to have like a really good feeling 25K trail race. So like this week I would just focus on, just a lot of systems checks, do some mobility work, maybe some yoga with Adrian, like someone else, like I think was it Sean, someone else was talking about. Just do some stretching, see if anything needs a little bit of extra attention. Maybe you need to get a body massage, maybe you need to go see the PT a little bit. I know for me, my left ankle's been kind of bothering me ever since I was doing that 5K training. And so that's something that I'm going to really devote a lot more attention to now because it hasn't been getting better just kind of on its own. So maybe I don't think I need to see a PT. I just think I need to really work on some stretching. And so before that starts to get really bound up and tightened and then leads to other gait changes and then injury, I really want to make sure that I'm focusing on, stretching that multiple times a day, working it, making sure it stays flexible. And so I would recommend the same kind of thing. And then in terms of running, let your body tell you what you feel like doing. Maybe you feel like going out for a 60-minute run, get out there. But after like 20 minutes, if you're like, oh, wow, this is going to be a long day, turn around in 20 minutes and come back home. So like, I would say, don't worry about expectations. Just let your body get to feel in the best like spot it can. And then also adjust your expectations for that 25K trail race. So that way you can have as fun of a time out there as possible. Eric says, I didn't know the old course and that this was a change, but it was brutal to see that 24-mile marker sign. Yeah, that was a tough one. I generally do like races where you could see like the other people, like the Cherry Blossom 10 mile is like that. You see the faster runners like 3 times, but you don't see them at the end of the race when you're super tired. So like, I think I saw Megan Murray and Frank, A6 Frank, like I think I saw them like 2 or 3 times. And so that was cool to like kind of like be able to cheer for them as they were ahead of me. But like if I saw them like and I still had like 2 miles to go, then I would have been like, oh man, this race is long. So it's good to see the other runners, just not late in the race. Let's see what else we got here. Keep scrolling down. Mr. Random wants to know, on average, how many days do you guys take off after a marathon? I don't see any other answers in the chat yet, but me, I usually, if it's a Sunday race, I'll usually, like on Tuesday, I might hop on the bike just for an easy spin. And then Wednesday, I might go for an easy run. So yesterday's run was just like 90 minutes. Whatever pace my body felt like running. And then a little bit unusual that today I did a workout, but I didn't like really go to the well for the marathon this time. And so I feel like it's a little bit okay to go sooner, but yeah, I'm also really trying to like make sure that like my eagerness to like squeeze in a lot of work between now and New York doesn't lead to an injury before December. So I'm trying to really listen to the body and be careful. Let's see. Frank says, though, it probably helps to see other runners late if you are competitive. I could see that. But I'm really not that competitive. So it's just 100% demoralizing. Oh, that's funny. Affluent Dreaming says, do you think the Adios Pro 3 is a buy at 175? Absolutely. If you've run in like the other Adioses before, then I think the Adios Pro 3 at 175, definitely go get it. I also feel like if you're like looking to experiment with some carbon plated shoes, that's a really good way to do it because the price is good. And I do think that's one that like relatively accessible for a large like population of people. Like the Endorphin Pro 2, for example. I don't, even if when it gets cheap, I'm just like, I don't know if I would recommend that for a bunch of people. The Adios Pro 3 on sale, yeah, I would recommend it. The caveat being like my running buddy, whose favorite shoes over the past several years have been like Brooks Ghost, Pegasus, like 33, 34. Brooks Ghost, doesn't matter what year we're talking about, they're all the same. 1080, and also the Beacon, like those are shoes that he likes. He does not like the Adios Pro 2. So if those are like shoes that, I mean, I also like those shoes, but I love the Adios Pro 2. So I don't know. Just kind of leaving that out there. Sean says, hey, Coach, have you ever had to deal with an injury right before a race? How do your training and goals, how does it affect your training goals? Asking for a friend. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really had too much of that before, at least not since high school. In high school, I constantly had Achilles like strains. Basically, I would not do any work in the off season and then all of a sudden be doing a lot of jumping. And so my Achilles would always just get really growly. So I was constantly hurt. But as far as distance running goes, I haven't had it like happen right before a race. I think that the way, like, depends on the injury is how you adjust your training and goals, right? It might get down to that so bad that like you would just like to finish. And so like you just got to find that point that you can push to where it won't cause that injury to really result in failure, you know? So that's just the way that you're going to have to like kind of feather it a little bit. Melvin says, hey, Coach, regarding the nice hat shout out on the course, I want to say it happened around mile 8 or 9. I was wearing your non-elite cap backwards. That overly polite Canadian that kept saying thank you on Saturday. Awesome. I'm trying to remember 8 or 9. Where would that put us? That had us coming back south from that north, like Clover Loop, I think, right? No, 8 or 9. We're already back in Lakeview, or like Lakeview towards Lincoln Park. So I'm trying to see if I can remember it. I'll see if I have any footage of that too, because that'll be fun if I can find it. But I'll take a look for it. But you know, the entire weekend, I think I told you guys this yesterday, but like anytime I saw anyone with like a hat I recognized, you know, I was like, oh hey, love the hat. So like, especially like Believe in the Run hats, Ben Parks hat, Billy Yang hat, Path Projects, like all those. Anytime I saw him, I was just like, oh, that's a great hat. All right. Martha says, going to my go-to, the Milestone. Is it Millstone? I thought it was Millstone, but Milestone running in San Diego. And they're holding a pair of Nova Blast 3 and Endorphin Pro 3 for me in 2 sizes each. Ooh, I'll have to have them shipped home because she has no room in the suitcase. That's a good problem to have. Awesome. Hopefully you find some that you enjoy. It's going to be, those are some of my favorites for this year. A lot of people have been asking about the Endorphin Pro 3, how it held up. I talked about it a little bit yesterday, but in case you weren't here, you know, I didn't run at my marathon pace, so it's like a little bit of like a not the best like kind of test for it. But I did have slight kind of like of that right foot pain that has been plaguing me in only Saucony shoes this year. It happened after the halfway point, like mile 14. I was like, oh. Like at the mile 10 mark, I was like, all right, I'm in the clear. And then later it started like creeping up and I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a long day. But then it disappeared. And so my feet just felt great the entire time. And, you know, I ran a workout today. So feet are feeling great. The next day even, I felt great. I didn't feel like I wanted to go for a run, but I felt like, you know, if I had a coach and the coach was for some unknown reason was like, hey, go for a 30-minute run, I feel like my feet would have felt great and my legs would have felt great for that. So I really do enjoy that shoe quite a bit. I'm going to put some workouts in it for sure in the lead up to New York. and in the lead up to CIM as well. So that should be I think that will get heavy use in the rotation. And I think the big difference for that shoe, two things. One, it has like a full on carbon plate. So I think that whatever impact forces are bothering me in the Triumph 20 and in the Endorphin Speed 2, I think partially the carbon plate is like dissipating those forces well enough that it doesn't really bother me. The other thing is, if you look at the bottom of the Endorphin Pro 3, there's a cutout right along the spot in my foot that gets the pain. And so I think that cutout makes a huge difference in the way that the forces are transmitted from the ground through the foam up into the foot. And so I just think that that has a big thing to do with it. It could be, it just could be the shape of the shoe too, but I think it has a lot to do with that cutout. Endurance Frank non-elite says, how's your head cold race day? You look like you were not struggling at all and truly enjoyed the race. I was hopped up on, I did take a Sudafed probably like before we left the house. So that would have been like 5 o'clock in the morning. I took a Sudafed. And then after that, it was all adrenaline. So I felt great. I didn't feel a thing the entire day. So adrenaline's a magic drug, so I felt great. Since then, like I've been having a hard time breathing. Easy runs are hard for me because I'm breathing a lot. I like try to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And so like I'm still like congested a bit. Today's workout though, I'm still like tired. Like my legs are a little bit tired because I just ran a marathon, even if it was an easier one. But when I'm just breathing through the mouth, it's less restricted. And so, sometimes in some ways it felt fine, but like also I'm still just having problems breathing properly. So, last night was the first time I didn't take NyQuil to go to bed in a long time. So I feel like I'm on the mend. I feel like I've been saying that for like a week now though, but I think I'm getting pretty close to being done with it. All right. Stephen C. 1984 says, my friend is a cyclist who wants to do a marathon next year. He did a sub 150 half a couple of years ago, but doesn't run too often. Would you steer him away from a plated shoe? If so, any suggestions? I wouldn't steer him away from a plated shoe at all. I mean, I think it'll be fine. Certainly you want to test it and try it out to make sure it's something that works for him. Because there are a certain number of people that they just don't like plated shoes, or they don't work for them, or they hurt, or a variety of other things that just make them not suitable. But like I think that there's a lot of great options. I feel like that if he's doing and wants to do a marathon, I would when you're looking at the marathon, the ones that I like the most are like I love the Metaspeed Sky Plus. I feel like for a half marathon, full marathon, it's a great shoe. I think the Alpha Fly is also like pretty much a really safe choice for the widest number of people, just because it's so squishy up front. I feel like a lot of people are going to like that one too. I'm also big on the Endorphin Pro 3 and the Adios Pro 3. The RC Elite 2 I recommended to a lot of people last year, just because it was so squishy. It wasn't quite as much pop as some of the other marathon shoes have, but I felt like for people that wanted to have like the feel of super foam, especially if they just wanted like that impact absorption, those people I was steering towards the RC Elite. So I ran in CIM in the RC Elite 2. I had a PR in it for that day. Well, no, it wasn't a PR. It was close. It was my non 2,000 feet of downhill PR. So it was kind of a PR with an asterisk. So I ran a really great race in it. It just doesn't have as much like oomph as some of the other ones do, but I know like for my running buddy, he doesn't like the oomph so much. So I don't know. I should get him a pair of RC Elites. I'm really excited. I still don't have a pair of the SC Elites. I would love to get a pair. Hopefully I'll get them before the marathon. I'll be pretty disappointed if I don't. To be honest with you, if I don't get a pair to run the New York City Marathon in, I'm going to be pretty disappointed. So I'm going to contact my people to check, see if that's going to happen. I hope it does. But RC Elite is another one that I tend to really like. And again, that one is going to be a high probability of being agreeable to a lot of people. Blue Boy says, "Hey, Co, moving from the West Loop to Lakeview this weekend. Any restaurant, cafe, bar recommendations in the area?" I mean, Lakeview is pretty big. There's a lot of places. I lived right off Broadway, between Belmont and Diversey. I really liked Wild, named after Oscar Wilde. That was like my go-to place. I can go there with my buddies. I could go there with my parents. I can go there with my kids. I mean, depending on the time of day. But especially in the winter, they've got fireplaces. So like if you're really chilly, you can ask to sit by the fireplace, and that with a nice brown liquor drink, that'll warm you right up no matter how cold it is outside. So that's something that like one of my favorite things to do in the neighborhood. Also, Dry Hop was a local brewery for me. Some of their beers get really nerdy. So like if you're a super beer nerd, you're gonna be in heaven. I liked like half of their beers a lot. Does that make sense? The super nerdy ones that were like very bitter, like I don't know. I'm like, this is above me. It's going right by me. I don't get it. My wife liked some of the lighter options, some of the weedier options. So there's certainly, then they have a full bar too. So there's always something. But the food there is really, really good. So those are probably like the two best places to eat and drink. And they're like across the street from each other. So those are some that I would recommend. The breakfast place that I like is Stella's. It's just like a diner, and I like just diners, you know. Let's see. Yeah. Eric says Dry Hop Brewing, pretty solid food too. Yeah, there you go. There we go. All right, let me keep trying to catch up to you guys in the chat. And then I'll probably get going relatively soon. All right. Lou Klein says, "I'm excited for the New Balance SC Elite version 3. New York edition looks awesome." Yeah, it looks like a Spider-Man shoe to me because of the colors. And like there's like the blue and red Rebel as well, which I'm not like, those are very strong. It's a strong use of primary colors. Yeah, I'm not sure I love them, but I feel like for a New York Marathon, it works. I think it's mostly red for the SC Elite 3. I'm also not excited that they're calling it 3 because it's been RC for the first 2 years and now it's SC. So I don't know. I guess we're just making up numbers now, but that's okay. Well, you know, I'm gonna call it the SC Elite. I don't know that I'll call it SC Elite 3. I mean, maybe for like YouTube search terms in the title, but like to me, it's just the SC Elite. Now, here's the thing that's interesting. Was it you guys yesterday? Who was telling me yesterday that Emily Sisson ran not in an SC Elite, but in an SC Pacer that was modified, like a prototype. So, does anyone have any info on that? I'm trying to figure out where did I hear that? Martha says, "The Boston jacket from 2020 was red, white, and blue because the same year as the Olympics. It would go those red, white, and blue or red and blue shoes. It would. You know, the thing is, like, did they for 2020? I remember it being a red, white, and blue. I remember you sent me a picture of your jacket, Martha. I remember that. Did they also have a yellow one? Because I feel like I want the yellow one, or like the yellow and blue, like, you know what I mean? Because like those are the colors that I associate with the Boston Marathon. And you know, if you're gonna wear that to flex, like when you go to another races expo, which I feel like is like the main place that people wear those, or like on the airplane when you're going to the race, like it has to be the right. How are people gonna know to be impressed with me if the color of my Boston jacket isn't yellow? You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Martha says, like, I wonder how they modified that for Emily. And the photos doesn't look like a noticeably higher stack. I mean, it just looks like, I think that the design cues for the SC Elite, even the SC Trainer, the Pacer, and even like to an extent the Rebel, like all are very similar looking. And so it's like, you know, unless you get a really high res photo, like in a video that's at full speed, it's going to be hard to pick out. And so I got to check my source on that. Maybe, you know, I wonder if Thomas knows. So I'll ask him to see if he has any information on it. Because I do want to hear more about that, what she ran in. I was listening today to the CDS Mag podcast today where they interviewed her. Really great interview. Can you believe? I find it hard to believe. She says she didn't look at her watch a single time the entire race. And the only clock that she saw was the halfway point. She says she didn't even see the finish line clock. She didn't know what time she ran. She had to ask someone what time she ran and what place she was. But she said that she didn't know if like someone yelled at her, like the clock's not working, or she just whatever. She's like, I don't know if I had tunnel vision or what, but she says like, I don't remember seeing a finishing clock. I only saw the clock at the halfway point. I was like, wow. I mean, I guess you got pacers that are going to help you out, but it's an incredible amount of restraint. I find it hard to believe. I can't not look at my watch on a 1,000 meter repeat, So it's just incredible. Let's see. Where we go? Kurt says, that picture of you from that first run that you started again with your buddy was mind-blowing. Looks like a completely different person. Yeah, I mean, I think at the time, it may have been like 40 pounds heavier. So, I mean, that's quite a bit of difference. So, yeah. It was a very different time. It was a very different time. So, lots changed since then. JC wants to know, is the New Balance Rebel version 2 on deep discount yet? Yeah, I don't know. I still have mine over here. I think I've only got like 60 miles on mine. But yeah, I don't know if it's on discount. John says, I don't get the Boston Marathon jacket hate that I see on the running subreddits. As a lifelong masshole, I love seeing them everywhere. Running a marathon is something to be proud of. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I lampoon it a little bit, but I also want to wear the jacket. Like, when I go to Boston, I'm going to get a jacket. You know what I mean? And I'm going to wear it at other places so that people know that I ran the Boston Marathon. You know what I mean? Like, I'm making fun of it, but also really, like, I'm that person at the same time, So, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I think the people that, like, kind of give it the hardest time are the people that I could see, like, if you don't think that you can run a BQ time, and it's like, stop rubbing it in my face that you're faster than me. I could maybe I think maybe that's part of the perspective. And then for other people, it's like, running a BQ is easy. Why are you proud of that? And I'm just like, all right, chill. We weren't all B1 athletes, like this was like a lifelong goal for a lot of people running wise, So like, when people are proud of it, I'm like, be proud of it. There was a guy, at my kid's school before we moved, he wore his Boston Marathon jacket from like 2013, like every day still. Not every day. When it was temperature appropriate, he would wear it all the time to pick up the kids from school. And I was like, see, that's a guy that's like, at one point, I felt like a god. You know what I mean? It's just, you did it. Be proud of it. That's kind of how I feel. But I also like think it's funny too. It's just such an enjoyable subject in my mind. Mr. Random wants to know, how is the Nova Blast TR? I think that they're a lot of fun. I think that we're going to get a lot of use out of them on kind of the trails that I have around here. I ran with them all day Saturday for the shakeout run, and they were really good for just walking around the city all day too. I ended up walking from Lou Malnati's back downtown. So I ran up there, and then I walked all the way back downtown too. So quite a bit of time on feet. The day before the marathon, stopped by the Hoka pop-up in them too, and I was like, it's all right. Wearing the wrong shoes in here, but that's okay. It's not like I went to like a Hoka event. I just stopped by the pop-up. I didn't know they even had that down there. But it's set up very much almost like exactly the same as the one in New York. Like it's like almost as if they were like, we need a building that's the same dimensions because we don't want to redesign this. So it was like, wow, this is like really strong deja vu. But yeah. But yeah, it's a fun shoe. I don't think people need to buy both for sure. I think that like it'll sell a lot in the winter for people that are in warmer climates where it maybe doesn't get icy all the time, but it maybe gets wet a bit, and like right around now where like there might be wet leaves where you are on some of the surfaces. I feel like that gives you a little bit more confidence than the regular outsole. It does make it a little bit less bouncy because more rubber means less feeling from the foam, but I still really enjoy it as a Nova Blast 3. So it's good to see them kind of like try to iterate on it a little bit, I don't think it's going to go as crazy as like what Skechers does with like the Razor, like Razor 3 XS, Razor 3 Plus, Razor 3 Hyper. I don't know what all the ones were, but like there was a bunch of them. I don't think it's going to be quite like that, but it's good to see them like kind of like taking some swings, seeing what sticks, the Pegasus Trail for a while has been my favorite Pegasus that they make every year. I used to love the Shields because I would run in them all winter, but I prefer the Pegasus Trail over the Pegasus Shield. I still think they make the Shields. I don't know how much longer that's going to last because I feel like people should just get the Pegasus Trail if you're going to get the Pegasus Shield. But, let's see. Mark says, is the Nova Blast Trail going to be good for running long in Midwest winters leading up to Boston? I think so. I think it's really going to depend on how well paved some of your surfaces are. It's not a shoe that I'm going to take to run in deep snow. So like if it's not plowed, I'm probably not going to be picking that one. I'll probably go for a Gore-Tex shoe. So what else? I just saw a bunch of new Gore-Tex shoes hit the market. So very interesting time. I probably won't start looking at those until after CIM though. But I do love a good Gore-Tex shoe. I do love stomping through the snow. But like, stuff that's like plowed, salted, maybe still a little bit covered in snow, like some packed snow that's been plowed, you know what I mean? Like I feel like that shoe's going to do fine. Will a trail shoe be better in some situations? Probably. But I feel like for an easy run, as long as it's not icy, I think it'll do pretty well. It's not going to be the warmest shoe though, because it's the same upper as the regular version. So if they make it, yeah, I mean, if you put a Gore-Tex upper on it, I don't think there's any ASIC shoes with Gore-Tex, but I'm like, let's say you put like a waterproof upper on it. I'd probably, if you're going to go that far, I'd say let's get a beefier outsole, and then you're really, really changing the shoe. And so, yeah, I don't know how they can make it a real like winter shoe, but like, I think I know you're in Minnesota, so like, I don't know, but if you were in Missouri, I'd be like, for sure. So you see what I mean? So it'll depend on where you're at, what you're running on. Sean says, I'm going to get Fight Me embroidered on my 2023 Boston jacket. Nice. I mean, I feel like that's a very Boston thing to do as well. That's awesome. That's funny. I mean, that should become a thing that people start doing, getting stuff embroidered on their jackets. It reminds me of like the Very Nice Track Club. So like they all have Very Nice embroidered on the back of their singlets. It's something that like the team has been doing for a long time before it became Very Nice Track Club. That's the reason why they call it Very Nice Track Club, because all those guys, when they were coached by Ron Warhurst earlier, Ron would at the beginning of the season get their singlets and get them embroidered with Very Nice on the back. And so I think we should get more into embroidery. I don't know how to do that. My daughter's like starting to get into sewing. I don't know if that's the same thing or what, but maybe I can convince her to get that figured out. Yeah. Maybe I could just have her like embroider the word pizza in like really elaborate calligraphy on a singlet. No context, just the word pizza. That'd be funny. All right. Matt DeLeon says, on the topic of, you guys are ready for winter, huh? This is probably the last question for the day before we wrap up. So what are your top recommendations for winter daily trainers in a snowy climate? I think that you're going to really be looking at hybrid trail shoes. Again, it depends on like how snowy. Like if we're talking like Colorado, where like trails are closed to hikers, that kind of thing. Like, that's one other thing. But like, where maybe there's some paths that are plowed and salted, maybe there's some sidewalks that are snowy, maybe you're running on a snow plowed street, kind of thing, or like just a variety of maybe a few inches here and there. That's kind of how I'm going to answer this question. For that, like last year, I really enjoyed the Peg Trail Gore-Tex. That shoe was fantastic. I like the look of it. It had a little mini gator on it too, and it had Gore-Tex, so like you can stomp through all the snow you want, and it did really great. I also really enjoyed, I think this was 2 winters ago now, the Brooks Catamount. That was a lot of fun. It wasn't a Gore-Tex shoe, but it had like high levels of TPU up on it, so like it did do a pretty good job of keeping the snow out, and it felt a little bit like a firmer shoe. So when you combine that with like some snow underfoot, it was just right. It was really excellent. And then all the other like trail shoes that you're running in, especially if there's a Gore-Tex version, you could probably just take those on the road. So like this winter, I don't know if my Mafates will still be around by the time I hit the winter because I'm racking up on the miles on them real quick. But a shoe like the Mafate, the Speed Goats, the Speed Goat usually comes in a Gore-Tex version. So I don't know if they're going to be a Speed Goat 5 Gore-Tex. Is there one? There might be one out. Or is there one? I don't know. But that's like a shoe that I would probably have a lot of fun running in. And so those are some of the ones that I'm going to be looking at for my running. For workouts, I'm still usually running in my workout shoes, and you got to make sure you're finding a place where you can get some, stable footing. But I haven't really encountered like even a race shoe that like in cold weather, as long as it's, cleared out, plowed and salted, that was like completely unsuitable, because, even when it's plowed and salted, there's some slick spots. There's some snow melt through the day, so it might be wet, that kind of thing. So for workouts, as long as you're picking your places real carefully, you should still be fine if you do need to get some workouts in, if you've got like an early spring marathon. But yeah, like those hybrid shoes, especially if there's a Gore-Tex version available, and those, trail shoes, even like the light trail shoes. I think I think it was the Peregrine I just saw that comes in a Gore-Tex. Like shoes like that, I think are going to be really nice. Or a shoe like a Zenal, that one is also really good for the winter, where you need a little bit of lugs, and you don't necessarily need maybe you don't need a full stack height of a Mafate for your daily training. That's kind of where I'm leaning. I haven't really taken too much of a look yet. I usually start looking after Chicago for my winter running shoes, but since I still got New York and CIM on the docket, I'm probably going to wait a little bit longer before I really start diving in. But those are some early thoughts. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today. Tomorrow, probably no video in the morning, but we'll do another live stream for Friday. Same time as today, 1 p.m. Central Time. Hopefully I'll see you guys then. And in the meantime, be safe out there, everybody. Thanks.